Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. I was a little bit disoriented there. I loaded the world in, and I was facing the wall, and I'm like, where am I? Who is this? What's my name? Where am I going? What is my quest? What is your favorite color? But regardless of my early confusion, let me clue you guys in and welcome you to episode 370 of Farlands or Bust. Let's grab Wolfie, clean out a little bit of our inventory, and right away, spare no time, start walking west and continue, I suppose, walking west to the Farlands here on Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. We are at $5,745 raised for Child's Play charity this season, Season 5 of Farlands or Bust, over at farlandsorbust.com. That is where you can donate. There's a donation widget. Funds go directly to Child's Play charity. It is, whoa, come back, boat. It is Child's Play charity's donation widget, after all, and you can leave a comment and a question, and perhaps I will answer that question. Give me a topic or something to talk about here in Farlands or Bust as we continue on this long journey. We're at 370 episodes, and that is nay a scratch on the distance required to reach the Farlands, so it's going to be a while. Sit down, get ready. Well, don't get ready, as in sit down and get ready to wait, is basically what I'm trying to say. Get ready to wait. Everybody hurry up and wait, because we're going to be here a while, and it's kind of turned into a zombie party. And spooky noises. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, well, I know my normal, that was just like a perfect, that was a perfect block break. My normal, thoughts on spawners is if I can't see it, I will not explore it. I saw this only because I accidentally broke the one block I needed to break in order to see it, so let's let these loud guys die, and then we will see what's in that chest. Receive death! Death by snowball! And fire, and fire. Fire, nice! Just die already, would you? Thank you. Boop. I think we're safe. Some iron, I'll take the iron, and nothing else of consequence. You guys will only spawn at night now, and let me do that. Even though it doesn't matter, so you guys can't escape. Even though this chunk will not be loaded ever again for the remainder of the existence of this YouTube world, or this Minecraft world, but we'll block it off anyway, because reasons. But yeah, we're continuing on. Like I said, it's become kind of a little bit of a one-man podcast type situation that just happens to take place in a video game. And with those questions, I'm able to have topics to ramble on about and whatnot, and I do appreciate that. Just yesterday, if you missed it, I had a 1-hour video go up, a 1-hour review. I'm very hesitant to call it, to really take on reviewing games, because I'm definitely not a games journalist. Nor do I really have that great or breadth of experience with video games in general. I'm not pretending to be a total biscuit or anybody of that nature who reviews games with any sort of intelligence. But I was given a review copy, and that indeed, a lot of people guessed, was the game that I was kind of beating around the bush about. I'm playing a new game, but I can't talk about it. They gave me a review copy of Grid Autosport, so I felt it was kind of expected that I give my review-ish of it, so I gave my opinions, and I took like an hour video. It was almost kind of like the same format, which worked out so great. Everybody just loved the format on which I did the first Tomb Raider, the reboot, the last year's Tomb Raider. The first episode, I didn't get a review copy, I bought it and just started playing on release day. I did a 1-hour video of the first hour of gameplay in Tomb Raider, and that, along the same lines, gave my impressions, showed off the menus and the options and things like that. And so I decided I would resurrect that format for a release day. I very rarely, since I really play a lot of indie games, a lot of early access games, your Assetto Corsas, your Kerbal Space Programs, your Spin Tires, and stuff like that. I very rarely have a release day type of video go up for a large title like that. So it's something special, something a little bit out of the ordinary for my comfort zone, I suppose. So I think it was well received. I know a lot of people. There are a lot of people who despise the 10 minutes or so I take before I even start playing the game to show people around the menus, to explain what I'm doing and the history and kind of the background of the game. But if I don't mention that stuff, I feel I will forget to while I'm playing the game, and I'll also... Is that another spawner? Nah, this is a single zombie. He's unwed. Whoa! Watch your step. So I take that time and I offer skip to 10 minutes to get to the gameplay. You impatient people, you. So yeah, that went up yesterday, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Maybe racing games aren't your thing, and that's all right. But yeah, that went up yesterday, so I'm kind of happy with that. And we will be continuing as a standard, 20, 30-minute episode Let's Play in Grid Autosport. So thumbs up to new Vigi games on the channel, as if I didn't have too many already. I'm kind of falling behind. I took that time yesterday. I had an hour video go up, so I'm like, all right, I won't put up any other videos. I'll take the time that day to record. More Grid Autosport, of course, but also did a bunch of Call of Duty. Trying to get... I missed a couple times of Lifeless Planet. Want to get into that to try to finish that game. Open up a slot so that I can hopefully bring back, Mindcrack. Now's the time. Now is the hot time to bring back Kerbal Space Program, now that Zisto is on a little bit of a break. He finished with what he calls his vanilla Let's Play, and he's going to start trying out mods and stuff. So now that the big guy on campus is done, I have an opening to reclaim my Kerbal Space Program views. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure when that series. That's a difficult game to Let's Play, and I do not envy all of the work that Zisto puts into his episodes and builds and rockets that he's not even able to upload. And there's just a lot of unbillable time, I suppose I could say, that goes into Kerbal Space Program. But regardless, we're moving on, and I'm hoping it's good things for the channel to have such frequent videos go up. But also, as always, I will not miss. Well, I might miss. I have missed sometimes Farlands or Bust days, but Farlands or Bust is the priority. So many spawners this episode. Hold on, I just want to... This is investigative digging. Alright, that's a shame. See you guys later. Enjoy your home. Underground. Somewhere. Oh, did that hit the tree? Oh, no. I don't quite have the arm. So yeah, that happened yesterday. Good times indeed. I got a question in the last episode. I talked about SpaceX, which really doesn't narrow things down. That happens in a lot of episodes, but I talk about SpaceX and how the delay in the current rocket launch, but also the fact that they were mentioning how they don't really want, or they weren't planning on doing webcasts of the launches anymore, which is a really strange... Ooh, that's neat. That's weird. Is there even dirt up there for that thing to be growing? I would assume so. Not doing webcasts of their launches anymore, and I thought that was a weird thing, and I mentioned how, well, they're not really obligated to. They're a private company. This is a private launch. This isn't a launch of a NASA vehicle. This is a commercial spaceflight launch of commercial satellites, and I got a question from Luke. Luke, I am... But I got a question from Luke in the comments, in the YouTube comments, saying, if SpaceX is a private company and the Dragon V2 is going to be the only way to the International Space Station, won't that mean only SpaceX employees will be able to go to the ISS? And no, the Dragon V2 is the manned version of the Dragon capsule, which is currently flying resupply, just as a cargo craft, resupply missions to the International Space Station. And, you know, he's asking if, well, you're saying it's a private company. Does that mean only private astronauts are going to get to the ISS? And no, that is not the case. You basically have to, it's more complicated than this, but you have to think of it as cargo. Like right now, the Dragon capsule is taking cargo, unmanned cargo, and resupplies to the International Space Station. And that is what NASA is paying SpaceX to do. Simply replace the unmanned cargo with manned cargo. The astronauts are the cargo, and that's literally what NASA is going to be paying to put NASA astronauts onto the Dragon V2 to go to the International Space Station, much like we're paying Russia per seat, per astronaut seat on their Soyuz to get to the International Space Station. Let's go to sleep next to this floating thing here, and we'll continue talking in the morning. And in the middle of a thought interruption to sleepness. Ooh, it's a solar eclipse of the heart. And ooh, skeleton. And yeah, that's really how it's going to be when. Let me hurry up the process here for you guys. Hey, quit moving. Quit serpentining. Hey, take. Oh, good lord, I missed every single shot. That's terrible. Look at all these arrows. Oh, look at how they dance. Everybody asks about the jitteriness, the floating point precision. You can really tell because the arrows are entities and not part of the terrain. They're a little bit disjointed with the jitteriness in the terrain. So yeah, that's the way it's going to work when the Dragon is man-rated and when they're actually they would start to fly missions to the International Space Station. Before then, however, and I learned this when I went to the SpaceX NASA tweet up for the first Dragon launch at Kennedy Space Center. I mentioned how Garrett Reisman, previously a NASA astronaut, spent 6 months at the International Space Station, among other flights he did on Space Shuttle, I think he did before as well. He's now one of the lead team members of the man-rated program for the Dragon capsule at SpaceX. He's now an employee of SpaceX. He was saying how before they start flying missions to the International Space Station, they have to, just like they had to prove the Dragon capsule could resupply the International Space Station, they have to prove to NASA that this is a man-rated, safe spacecraft, possible of all the maneuvers and capabilities of a spacecraft getting to the International Space Station. So before then, they do have to do manned test flights, and those astronauts will not be NASA astronauts. Those astronauts will be hired by SpaceX. Those will be SpaceX astronauts, and that's why before I speculated that I'm pretty sure Garrett Reisman will be on that list of people to be a private astronaut to test the SpaceX Dragon capsule before they go to the International Space Station. They're basically going to go into orbit, prove that the Dragon capsule can go into orbit, do particular maneuvers, probably have some sort of manual override so that you can say, yes, astronauts can take control within the capsule of the Dragon spacecraft in case there's a problem with the automated systems, some sort of emergency flyaway systems in place, but then also deorbit and land with the cargo, the astronauts, safely in place. So yeah, those astronauts will not be NASA astronauts. The NASA is obviously not going to put at risk its own personnel in that regard, I suppose, is the way to look at that. But there are also, I've been following a few people on Twitter since either meeting them through the NASA tweet up stuff or just the NASA spaceflight online community. There are a few people who perhaps they've applied to be an astronaut to NASA and have gotten into a few rounds of the selection process but haven't made it all the way. But there is, I don't think it's SpaceX in general, but there are companies who are certifying private astronauts. So even more to the point where they might not even be SpaceX astronauts, employees of SpaceX, they'll be like contractors. I am a contractor as an astronaut sort of thing. So they're being trained. Oh, I think it's in regards to even Virgin Galactic, the Spaceship One or Spaceship Two, I guess it's now called, the big one. They're going to have private astronauts go up in that for various reasons. They go through different trainings of the centrifuge and the little spinny thing that you always see the astronauts doing, and so it's a very interesting time, and nobody's exactly sure where the astronauts are going to come from. Obviously, the whole SpaceX wants to get people on the surface of Mars by 2026. With or without NASA, if it is SpaceX who is going to Mars, it wouldn't be NASA astronauts. It wouldn't be government, people on the government salary as NASA astronauts are. It would be private astronauts. So it's a very interesting time. There's a lot of different ways that this could go about, and it's very interesting. So yeah, to answer that question, no, NASA would pay SpaceX, that's what the contract is for, to fly NASA astronauts per seat, I suppose, to the International Space Station, just as they're paying to get cargo and food and other supplies to the International Space Station from here. That's the way that market works, I suppose, but it's still a lot to be figured out. I suppose I answered a question from the comments. Let's answer and talk about topics given to me via the donations systems for Child's Play Charity. System for Child's Play Charity. People who donated ask questions, and I try to answer them as best I can, and often fail. But I got a question from an anonymous donor. Well, let me see. Are there any space-related ones that I can kind of keep with the theme as a very smooth segue? No. Well, sort of. Yeah, here we go. From James. James this is the question I have here, but I remember his comments. He said he recently wants to get into astronomy or got a first telescope and was trying to figure things out. And James asks, what season is best to stargaze in? I heard that winter is, but I was wanting your opinion. Oftentimes, specifically in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm liking the way this land is our land. This land is your land. Da, 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 da. Oh, I'm sorry. This land is generating in front of us, is what I meant to say. Am I right on coal? I'm right on coal. Yeah. Spooky coal. Woof. Oop, careful, Wolfie. It's kind of, sorry, I kind of blanked out there for a second. I had a small stroke. I've heard, and kind of the going misconception is that winter is the best time in the Northern Hemisphere to stargaze because, it's the skies are so clear and the stars are so bright. Obviously, it's winter. That's actually a little bit of a misinterpretation of what's going on. The reason we in the Northern Hemisphere have the illusion that winter is the best time to stargaze, it's because during the winter is when that's a creeper. Is when the brightest. Oh gosh! All right, there's multiple creepers. Let's go this way, Wolfie. I've decided. I have made an executive decision. Is when the brightest stars are in the part of the sky that is at night on the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know the names of all the stars off the top of my head, but the bright ones like Rigel, Antares. I'm not sure. These could be summer stars for all I'm knowing. But basically the different seasons give you different stars just based on where we are in our orbit and the tilt. Oh, it's like a little mini canyon of woe. This is the canyon of ooh. The canyon of ooh. Ooh. We could actually, it seems like it's pretty safe to go down this slope here. This very gentle grade. Of course, for Wolfie, that's another story. We're going to hear him. Yep, that's what I thought. Oh, gosh. Good lord. This was a gentle grade, a slope, a small step for wolfkind. But yeah, that's kind of the misconception, is because most of the stars and the brightest constellations are actually up in the wintertime for the Northern Hemisphere. The way I look at it is every season has its own, certain objects you want to see at certain times, and it's basically dependent on the sort of stuff that's directly overhead. The best viewing you get in astronomy is at the objects that are directly above you, and that's simply due to the fact that you're looking through less atmosphere when you're looking straight up versus towards the horizon or on a 45-degree angle. You're looking through more atmosphere, and that gives you more haze, more wobblies, more atmosphere to look through, and more, distortion is the word I was looking for. So, you just have to you have to download. I believe this is a point at which a cow fell to his doom. So we will bury his remains thusly. Poor cow. Gravity cow. So yeah, that the winter part is kind of a misconception. I suppose depending also on where you are, as far as in a temperate climate, like here in Chicagoland, winter can be very rewarding, but extremely cold if you're not prepared. You have to understand that, okay, say even if it's freezing, it's 32 degrees out during the day, at night that temperature drops drastically, but then also you're not, you don't get dressed as if you're going to go skiing or snowshoeing or anything, because that's an activity where you're moving your muscles and your blood is pumping. Astronomy, you're just sitting there, not moving, exposed to the elements, out in the open, and you get colder a lot faster, so you really have to really over-prepare for winter observing if you're doing more than just the casual stepping outside and glancing at the stars for 5 minutes, if you're actually observing with a telescope. So that makes winter observing a little bit more difficult. On the flip side, summer observing, it's nice because, sure, it might be 80, 90 degrees during the day, but it cools down to a comfortable 60 or 70. But with that cool down, not only do you have the swath and onslaught of mosquitoes to deal with, which are far more annoying than you could ever imagine when you're sitting still in the middle of a field at night, but you also have, I'll tell you in the morning what you have to deal with. It's a cliffhanger. And cliffhangerness. Where did these pigs come from? Boop. Oh, a flying attack from Wolfie. All right, we're back up to our inventory of Wolfie food. But during the summer, you have to deal with dew. Because the temperature drops and the humidity is so high, dew becomes a problem where all of your surfaces of your telescope, specifically your either mirrors or your lenses, being that they're made out of glass, tend to stay at a much lower temperature than the ambient air around you, and that attracts moisture, and it is a very surprising thing. The first time you go out at night in the summer, in a temperate climate like we are, with a lot of moisture in the air, you're looking through your eyepiece and you're like, wow, my telescope, I can't focus it. I must have knocked something on the drive over, or something is out of collimation, out of alignment here. But then you look at the eyepiece, or you look at your objective lens, and it's sopping wet with just dew and fog, and that can happen in a matter of minutes. And there's an entire industry of products designed to fix that. Basically, you have dew heaters, little strips of material that you plug into. You have to bring obviously out to an observing field. You have to bring a battery to power dew heaters that you put around the lens, around your eyepiece, around your finder, anything that can collect dew and ruin your day, to bring the temperature of those objects, of those components, above the dew point so that dew doesn't collect on them. On the flip side, on a really cold night, you're talking below 0 Fahrenheit, that condensation and that dew can turn into frost right away. So you end up having frost heaters so that your equipment doesn't freeze over, which also causes problems, of course. So I would say for less annoyance and for technical reasons for your equipment, the spring and early spring, late fall, when you can bundle up. You need to bundle up at night, but you really don't have to deal with the extreme temperatures. You don't have to deal with mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are so annoying. You cannot concentrate and enjoy your time when you have all night long. So you literally have to take a bath in DEET in order to have an okay time. And even then, like I said, just the buzzing really gets annoying. Flying up your nose and in your ear and stuff. That's a huge problem. So yeah, if you're planning extended sort of observing times, late fall, early spring are probably the most comfortable times to enjoy stargazing. Of course, it also depends on, like I said, what objects you want to view. That is what's going to determine when you're observing during the year versus, what's above you in the night sky. So yeah, I hope I kind of explained that right. But a lot of people tend to worry about what type of telescope they have, the magnification, the light gathering power, and they don't tend to consider the extraneous things that can impact your observing more so than just the size of your mirror or anything like that, the diameter, the aperture of your lens. Even things as simple as finding a chair or a seat to sit in if you're having extended observing. And also, okay, when you sit down, is your telescope properly sized where you can adjust it so it matches right? Or are you going to be all cockeyed and upside down and get a crick in your neck from observing and, just comfort-related things? Having an organized toolbox for all of your items so that in the pitch black with your eyes closed, you know where to grab your 15mm lens or where to grab your oxygen 3 filter without having to hunt around or fiddle for your flashlight or anything like that. So I haven't been out observing in such a long time, yet I still remember all this stuff. Like, really, I think it's gonna have to have been almost a year now. Sad times for old KurtJMac. I'm too busy getting you guys like 3 videos a day, an hour-long premiere exclusive video game content. I'm blaming everybody but myself. Ooh. Sea chicken, don't break my boat. Thanks, guy. You are so great. So yeah, thanks for that question. Let's look around here. Oh, speaking of boats, I guess, a little bit of more of a smooth segue. Joseph asks, why don't you break your boats? The extra wood would probably be good for you. I don't, because I end up with extra sticks, and also, look at us. Look at where, we're constantly walking. We're not stuck we're not settling down in an area where we have to worry about running out of resources or anything. So it's it's also, I suppose, we're leaving a trail. This is like a breadcrumb trail of boats behind. So if anybody is tracking us, they know where we're going. Or we can find our way back. No, this is the boats. As was indicated at the beginning of Season 4, when I tried to retrace my steps after invoking the hidey hole paradox, it's kind of hard and to really keep track. It's the boats and the hidey holes, the elevated hidey holes, are the only indication that we've been anywhere. So yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of, sometimes they break and I'll pick up their stuff, and sometimes they don't. I really don't. I don't waste time thinking about it too much. Just like sometimes I'll think I'll just skip making a boat altogether and swim, because I feel like making a boat would take too much time, and then it's just a short swim. I'll just swim instead. Joseph also asks, what happens if you run out of iron? Well, we just found some iron in that last dungeon. What happens if you run out of iron? Do you start smelting or just go without tools? I think I did at one point mine some iron and smelt in the hidey hole one night. I'm not sure, I can't remember. I needed to make new armor or new tools or something that I didn't have. I don't quite remember what happened. But yeah, I could smelt. We pass up surface iron pretty frequently, and coal, so making a furnace and doing that really isn't too big of a struggle. If you could bring one feature from current Minecraft into Farlands Bus, what would it be? I don't know. I would say sprinting, but then I feel like that comes with the food system, and that would get a little bit tedious and annoying. The food system. Trying to keep my hunger up. And again, I don't... You know, you could say villages so that you have some sort of things to see, but I like the fact that I am the only humanoid in this world. It is a lone journey. You know, far be it also, obviously Wolfie is our companion here, but as far as the humans are concerned, that was kind of... Ooh, you know, it's kind of something a little bit mysterious. You can kind of come up with storylines about the early Minecraft before multiplayer and villagers and things became part of the game, where you're kind of just born into this world, washed ashore. You know, in the early versions, you always spawned on sand, on a shoreline, and you're set out to survive in this world. Kind of the Paul Soares Jr. way of playing the game, I guess. So yeah, I'm not sure what I would bring in. Maybe the ruins. Ruins, pyramids, and structures like that, kind of dungeon-like, are very interesting and would kind of bring some variety. So maybe those, but not villages, is what I'll say. Last question from Joseph. Do you think the terrain is changing as you get further out and more dynamic? That is what my original misconception was that in traveling to the far lands, there is a slow and gradual degradation of the terrain until you reach the far lands. And I based my very loosely and poorly thought up theory on the fact that the only people who had visited the far lands and showed us screenshots and videos of the far lands had teleported themselves out there. So they didn't actually walk the entire distance, and the terrain generation didn't get a chance to devolve to the far lands. So once they just teleported themselves there, chunks rendered as normal, and then it realized, oh, the far lands are here. Flat wall, far lands, instantly. That was my kind of theory. Turns out my theory was grossly incorrect and very misinformed. The far lands do in fact happen suddenly, and it's just simply the rounding error chucks a wobbly at that point, and that suddenly, far lands. Up until then, the terrain generation itself is completely normal. I know it seems weird because we're playing Beta 173, but this is the way Beta 173 and these versions of the terrain generation worked. Very scattered. We had the canyon of back there, and you know, just floating islands and stuff. That's just the way that this terrain is in this game. Let's go over here. That looks like a nice pre-built hut we can use. So yeah, it's not a gradual degradation. The gradual degradation is this choppiness. It's gradual, but it happens suddenly as well. We actually watched it in a previous episode. Maybe I should make a Farlands Bus flashback about that, where we were walking, and I very vividly saw the jitter increase. Probably double is probably the way it worked, because it works on the floating point. It's when the decimal place floated one over to the left, and we lost a magnitude of. You're right, Wolfie? Oh, you're kind of like way out there. Get way in here, my man. Oh, it's snowing! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Something, 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 hey, look some hay. What? I don't... Huh? That's not the way that goes at all. Christmas in June. Yeah, so the thing that we are going to see... Oops, I don't need to make a boat. What am I doing? The thing that we are going to see is the gradual increase in this jitteriness. So if you're having problems watching Far Lands of Us now because of the terrain jitteriness... stay tuned, because it's only going to get worse. And that is something I'm curious to see, is if, oh gosh, like that you saw right there, like going along this axis is really making things jitter. And you can really tell, kind of look at the flame. The flame atop the torch is actually an entity and not part of the torch, which is a block. So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing if there is going to be a next kind of threshold that we cross where suddenly it's going to go blam, and we're going to be like, whoa, crazy man, tripping out here. It's unplayable. So we'll see. We'll see. That's something that's really interesting. But the terrain itself does not gradually degrade or anything like that. This is a little bit disappointing. That was kind of one of the reasons I set out. I'm like, nobody's walked there all the way. I'm going to prove my my theory correct. Oh, I should have made a shovel. Let's do that really quick, and then I will call this the end of episode 370 of Farlands or Bust. I do appreciate you guys following along. Oops. Donating to Child's Play charity, as always. It's a great cause. I do appreciate that. And supporting Farlands or Bust, and hopefully being interested in my other gaming Let's Plays, gameplay commentaries on the channel, like my Grid Autosport, like my Spin Tires, Call of Duty, Mindcrack stuff, and Indeeds and whatnots and etceteras. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.